Hello. My name is Sean. What should I call you?
Just call me T. It's easier for everyone.
Okay, great. T, it's nice to meet you. What would you like to talk about today?
It's really nice to meet you as well. Honestly, I'm not quite sure what to talk about. um, I'm just really overwhelmed today,
Hmm.
but that's fine. It's okay. I'm always overwhelmed. Is there anything you would like to talk about?
I'm curious about you said that like you're overwhelmed today and you're always overwhelmed. What is it that you're overwhelmed about?
Just life in general. This world wasn't made for neurodivergent people in general.
Sure.
And just simple things overwhelm me, like cleaning my apartment. My apartment's a mess right now. and yeah, I just completely struggle with being a normal human being. Saying
Wow.
normal, you know.
Sure. Yeah. That sounds incredibly the idea of like just existing in the world being overwhelming sounds, how do I say it? Like a certain version of hell.
Oh, absolutely. Technically speaking, I could go on disability and just have help, but I don't do that because I'd feel like a failure. Because I do try to fit into that little draw of being normal quite a lot.
Hmm.
Um, but it doesn't work most of the time. Um, yeah.
Wow. And so the sort of neurodivergence that you're talking about, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So yeah, when I was like, I'm 26 now. When I was 23, I was diagnosed with autism.
Okay.
Um, and like my whole life, I didn't really know why I was different, why I was weird, why people didn't connect with me, and I couldn't connect with people.
Hmm.
And I got so many diagnoses throughout my life that just didn't quite fit me.
Sure.
Um, and that one just really hit, and I realized, oh, it all makes sense. It all just makes sense why I struggle being alive.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've definitely sort of heard about that experience that like for a lot of people that struggle with some sort of neurodivergence, whether it's something like ADHD or autism, that getting the diagnosis is extremely sort of validating in a way that it's like, oh my gosh, like suddenly everything makes sense. Like I have actually been like playing the game on hard mode.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's such a good way to put it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It really, I mean, it really sounds like that's what you've been describing to you is that like you have to play life on hard mode.
Yeah. I'm just lucky that I have a lot of people that I can connect with now. I haven't had that for a long time that actually helped me quite a lot throughout the day. And if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be around anymore. Let's be fair.
Yeah. It sounds like an incredible amount of suffering that you go through, and the people that you're referring to are those friends, or those family, or those like nurses, like what kind of people do you have around?
So I now do have friends. I was like I ran away from home with 16. Um, and I had a falling out with my family in general, like with my parents as well. By now, I'm on very good terms with my mom. She helps me a lot as well. She is also autistic, but not diagnosed, but you can tell. I got it from somewhere.
Sure. Apple doesn't fall
um,
far from the tree.
Absolutely. Um, and yeah, I like she helps me when I'm overwhelmed and I'm just at home crying. I just call her up. That's fine. I have like some friends that help me. I've been in therapy for a long time. I'm not at the moment
Hmm.
because there's nothing really to work on from here on out. I'm not on medication, which I is by choice because medication always made me feel off,
Hmm.
and not like myself, and I do not like that feeling. So
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. So in terms of support, it sounds like you have friends that support you, you have your mom that supports you, and that's really nice when, like you're having a super tough day and you can just sort of like come home and like, call your mom and sort of like have a shoulder to cry on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. Um, and then I'm curious in terms of what you said of like you said I'm no longer in therapy because there's nothing to work on.
Yeah. The thing is, I was in therapy for depression and anxiety,
Okay.
and a lot of that stuff came from my previous work because um, I worked in gastronomy. I worked at Subway. Awful. And that just really basically made me lose all sense of self. And I just felt so worthless, which was the worst. It really was the worst. And when I switched jobs, like I work as a lab chemist now, I realized that I am actually not dumb, I'm not useless, and I actually can do stuff that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I I talked to my therapist for like half a year
Okay.
after I got into the line of work, and we came to the conclusion like I am on standby. I can always call when I need help or I need someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I haven't really felt the need to.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
I guess what I'm sort of curious about T is that, it's I'm getting the impression, and you let me know if it's off, but I'm getting the impression that on a day-to-day basis, there is still an incredible amount of suffering that you endure, but it sounds like that is not something, uh how do I say it? Like that's not something to work on.
Yeah, I am struggling every single day for sure. There's not a day where I'm like, oh, today was like the greatest day of all time. But for me, it's not like I know that I can't get rid of my autism. I can't get rid of my CPTSD. I can't get rid of most of the problems I have simply because there are chemical imbalances and just something that's kind of off in my brain. And I'm just doing my best trying to live with it and work around it. And also, what really helps me is just drowning myself in helping other people as well.
Hmm.
Um, because that really, I don't know, it helps me just distract myself from the fact that everything sucks. Because even though I'm in so much pain, I can always help other people with it, which makes me happy.
Sure. And in terms of the sort of overstimulation, which it sounds like is a major source of the suffering, is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When I'm overstimulated, I can't function. I get really bitchy sometimes because I snap at people and I feel bad about it because I don't mean to.
Sure.
It's just I can't process any more information, and it's just like a war going on in my head because I can't express the feeling that I'm having, but I also can't take myself out of the moment, which just overwhelms me more.
Sure. Um, so in terms of that uh, overstimulation, what is this conversation like for you?
This conversation is actually quite nice because I'm in a safe space. I got my thoughts collected. There's not like thousand things going on that I have to pay attention to because I know my surroundings and there's not really anything unexpected happening,
I see.
which is quite calming.
I see. Okay. Gotcha. Um, can I think for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. So, first of all, I just want to say, T, that I really appreciate everything that you're sharing because I think that it's providing a really rich like tapestry of sort of like what's going on for you.
Yeah.
And I just I appreciate the openness because I imagine that not all of this stuff is easy to share.
Um, First of all, thank you. I appreciate that. But by now, I gotta say, like, it was harder at some point to talk about all of this. I couldn't talk about most of the stuff without crying for the most time,
Mm,
just because it was way too much. I was just really sad. Also, like pitying myself, which I don't do anymore. And I was embarrassed. I was really embarrassed about how fucked up I was, you know. But now I'm just embracing it because people seem to like it when you're open about stuff, and I enjoy it as well. It's so much nicer to just live an honest life.
gotcha, gotcha. And so you've mentioned a couple of things, um, like feeling like a failure, or sort of like losing all sense of self, or uh, fitting into what is normal. And I'm curious, uh, with those things, you had sort of mentioned them in the past tense. How do those
Mm-hmm.
things affect you now, if at all?
Nowadays, like I got a huge problem with imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm not doing as well as I'm doing, and like I'm just pretending to um, be successful at the stuff that I'm successful at. Um, but I know that it's not that way. Like I know that like by being reassured and getting like what's the word? I'm sorry.
You're good.
Um, by getting reassured and having experiences that I did not expect, um, just people telling me that I am doing better than I think that I'm doing, and sorry, I'm blanking right now.
It's okay. It's okay. So,
Yeah.
so uh, just to sort of take what I've heard so far. So, I was sort of asking you about, like these ideas of like feeling like a failure, losing all sense of self, sort of like fitting into what's normal. And you mentioned that one of the things that you're really struggling with now is imposter syndrome, where
Yeah.
even though sort of like objectively or like logically, when you look at your life on paper, it feels, it looks really good, like you're actually doing quite well, that emotionally it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is very fair to say. And like I've done so much stuff in my life and I'm really good at a lot of things. But the thing is, if it was someone else, I would be impressed. But with myself, since I can't do it, I can do it. It's not that impressive,
Hmm.
which is kind of sad. It's kind of sad that I don't give myself the credit for that. But it's really nice to get the credit from other people. Like people reassuring me is definitely something that keeps me going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that the idea, so the analogy that sort of comes to mind, T, is like if somebody had to walk around with the volume of life turned up to like 200% all the time, and like having to live through that on a daily basis, it sounds like is sort of what you go through. And the fact that you can still find success in what as you live life on 200%, that seems super impressive to me.
Yeah. I think a lot of that comes from me overwhelming myself with things that I enjoy. to distract from the fact that there's so much things that overwhelm me that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And just throwing myself into something and completely letting go and just learning new skills or just doing something completely different that's so out of pocket for me is just calming in a way, even though it's really exhausting and chaotic. And I just love knowing stuff. I love knowing stuff. I love knowing being able how to do things. And also it's kind of cool when people are impressed by what I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that you really love learning, and you also really love, you know, sort of like being seen, love being recognized.
Absolutely. Like for the longest time, like as a kid, I was bullied so much for being seen, because I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to be like in the background, but I never was really able to do that. And nowadays, I'm just loud and proud about who I am, and people seem to flock around me, and I'm happy about it. I'm really glad, and because of that, like I am high masking, right? Like people generally tell me, you don't seem autistic, you can't be autistic, which is a lot of the time is a huge problem because they don't acknowledge that I actually have a disability that is kind of preventing me from doing stuff.
Sure.
And just because it's not affecting them doesn't mean it's not affecting me in a major way.
Yeah.
But like the feeling of being accepted, even though I have like these quirks and weird things about me, it's just really relieving knowing that I can be myself and still have people like enjoy me being myself is really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the term masking, and could you just help people that might not be as familiar with what masking is? Could you just help us understand, like, you know, with autism, what is masking? What does that look like?
So masking looks different for a lot of people. It's like in the most simple form, it's just acting. Like you're trying to act a way that would be seen as neurotypical, as something that a person that doesn't have any kind of neurodivergency would have. And like usually people learn quite early on because they're told to act a certain way. And for especially AFAB people, it's like very, very common to just be diagnosed very lately because you just learn to act a way and you mirror people and the way they act. I personally wouldn't have any inflection in my voice if it wasn't for that, because I would just be talking really like monotone. My mom told me one day, oh, you got to put some inflections in there and you got to sound a different way. And then I just started doing it, not because I felt like it or I felt like it was right, but because I was told to. And I just basically adjusted to that and made it a thing, which I am personally always acting out, and I always have to think about it. With eye contact as well. Eye contact is, for me personally, really, really exhausting, and because I always think about the eye contact. People get offended when I don't look at them when they're telling me something, but like you have to choose. I either try to hold like eye contact in a normal way, or I listen to you, because it's just a lot of information going in and trying to also act at the same time and try to do something that you're not used to and that doesn't come naturally to you. It's just a lot. It's a lot for sure.
Yeah, yeah. The more that you tell me, T, the more that I sort of get the impression, like that overstimulation percentage just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up. Because now, like, it's not only like life around you is super loud, but it's like all of the things that I have to be thinking about to do in my head. I have to be thinking about inflecting my voice. I have to be thinking about making eye contact. I have to be thinking about acting like a normal neurotypical person.
Also,
Like,
facial expressions are really, really hard. because like you see what other people do and you try to read their face the entire time, and also to react with your face to not look like you're bitch facing the entire time, and trying to actually let people know how you feel about something is also a thing that you gotta keep in mind. That's probably why it's called masking, because you're literally putting a mask on.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And so then I'm curious, is there anywhere in your life where you don't mask?
So for me, it's like I've been doing it for so long, it's really hard to unmask. And the only times when I actually unmask is when I'm like focused on something, like watching a movie where I'm like just not thinking about anything else. When I do any kind of project, when I work on something, when I cut videos, when I draw as well. And when I'm like, one time I was out with a friend and there were fireworks, and we just stared at the fireworks because they're pretty. And apparently in that moment, I just fully unmasked while talking to them. And they just randomly asked me, so are you okay? Because like your face is like literally blank and you're talking in such a weird way. And then I realized, oh my gosh, like this person has never seen me in any other way than I let them in on, even though they're really close to me.
Yeah.
And then having to say, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm really okay, when you're literally in a space where you're so free because you're not focusing on anything else, and let them in on that space. It's kind of hurtful knowing that it's that off-putting to someone, that they think you might not be okay.
Yeah.
When you probably haven't been that okay in like a while.
Right. Right. That all that has been lurking underneath the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it sounds like that the mask is able to come off sort of in times of high focus, whether it's like you're watching a movie, you're looking at fireworks, you're working on video editing, but that it's not necessarily something that you can voluntarily take off.
Yeah. For sure. It's since I've been doing it for so long, I've literally been doing it since I was a toddler because I've been told to. And if I don't act a certain way, it's off-putting to people. And because of that, it's just routine. If you do something for a long time, it's hard to stop. It's like smoking or any other drug you want to talk about, or stuff like that. Any addiction, it's hard to stop if you start doing something.
Yeah.
And it just stays. It becomes less of an effort as well because you're doing it unintentionally. So you're not super focusing on it, but you're still doing it.
And it still sort of takes up that like mental capacity, sort of like takes up your RAM, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's interesting. You sort of you compared it to an addiction. Does it feel like, when I think of addictions, I think of something that's like negatively impacting you. Does it feel like something that negatively impacts you, or do you like it?
I like that people are more comfortable around me. I don't like it in the fact that I struggle to have recognition from people when I open up to them about it and tell them, so this is a thing going on with me. So if I sometimes seem off, that might be it.
Sure.
And them not giving me the time of day when I actually snap at them at one point, and
when the mask comes off.
Yeah, and in that way, it's I don't like it. I don't like it when when people don't respect the fact that I am, and they expect me to mask as well, because masking can be really exhausting, one of the most exhausting things you can do, and that's why social batteries run low so quickly for me. And people generally want to go out, do things, and want to spend time with me, and I have to tell them I can't because my energy is just not there. And when they keep pushing, I get to a point where I'm just getting angry at them because they're not understanding that I actually struggle with this, and it's not a thing that I choose to not do, and it's not about them, but about me just needing time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend tell me, but like, you could just mask around me more. So, you know, you don't seem like you're mean all the time.
Wow.
And so we could have a normal conversation. And I'm not friends with this person anymore because the fact that they would want me to mask more over me getting to a point where I don't mask intentionally
Mm-hmm.
is just not something that I want in any relationship.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, first of all, what a dick.
Absolutely. Oh my god. Absolutely.
Really, it's a horrible thing to say to a person.
It is.
Couldn't you just like pretend to be a different person so that I can enjoy conversation with you more? It's like, asshole.
Yeah. No, it's in the first moment I thought like, is this like a joke? Because this could be sarcasm, right? And then he kept going on about it, and I was like,
He's not joking.
no, he actually means it. Yeah. It's just again the you don't seem autistic, so you can't have autistic traits, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think that the other thing that I got from what you were saying is that it sounds like, on some level or to some extent, that there's this sort of desire in you to get to a point where you can still use the mask if you want to, but that it's not automatic. That like,
Absolutely.
okay, gotcha.
Like, I definitely want to be able to turn that off at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is so draining, and I don't want to be drained all the time and just feeling low.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that, and that's something that I've been working on for quite a while now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend who's also autistic, and I've been spending a lot of time with them, and I've noticed that like I'm masking less around them because they as well are autistic and they get it. They understand it, and they don't make me feel weird about it.
Yeah.
So that's been nice, and I'm trying to like pivot that to different spots in my life. I'm not there yet, but I'm really trying to.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like I think that I'm getting more context around this idea. You know, earlier you were sort of talking about like how important reassurance is to you. I think that the sort of added context that I'm getting from it is that even more so than reassurance to a certain extent, it's like just having people around me that can actually like accept me for me is a gift that you've never really had before.
Yeah. Like growing up in general, I've never had that. I was always the odd one out when it doesn't matter if it was at home or in school. And I switched school a lot of times, tried to not fall back into that role, but I always did. And it was so heartbreaking to me because I really tried to just technically be someone and I wasn't. Because people didn't like who I was. People didn't like me for me, so I tried to be someone else, and it wasn't fun. And not getting that like that kind of closeness to any person, neither at home nor in school or at work as well. It just it's just kind of destroying your soul, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, I also had to learn like realizing that people nowadays, like when you're all grown up, it's so weird because people don't invite you if they don't want you to be there. And I always felt like, oh, they're inviting me because they're feeling bad for me or because they want to be nice and they don't actually want me to come. But then having people actually tell me that they want me to be there
Yeah.
And it would be so nice if I was there and they want to spend time with me alone as well. It was so wild to me that could actually be a thing.
Yeah, well, it sounds like historically it's been really lonely, T.
It was very lonely. I've that's why I went on the internet as well, to look for people that I could connect with, finding my tribe. And there's been some dark times. Definitely not a good idea to grow up on the internet. But but it helped me a lot, like finding myself and finding people that actually care. Because like I care too much sometimes, but I wouldn't want to care less, because then I wouldn't be me. And it's just nice finding like other people that are empathetic and that care way too much and know the way I feel and like relate to me as well, because like not being able to relate to people or have people relate to you is just painful. It's painful not actually like being able to connect to someone that you would like to connect to.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned something a little bit earlier about how uh, with the imposter syndrome that like it's something that you can do and therefore it doesn't feel like it's impressive.
Yeah.
What do you think is up with that?
I don't know. I feel like if I can do it, then anyone could technically do it. Like I learned it in like an afternoon, so it can't be that hard. Like I'll just go to a friend's house and they're like, "Oh yeah, I need help because I need to retile my bathroom," and I'll be like, "Okay, I'll just check out how to do it, and I'll do it for you," and I just do it, and so it's not impressive.
I see.
Because it didn't take me that much effort. Same with like all the stuff. I do so much stuff, and I'm a very creative person, so I pick up new stuff all the time. I start drawing, I start knitting, I started sewing, and I can do all of that stuff. So it's kind of easy. And if things come that easy to me, it shouldn't be impressive. And that's like I don't know what's up with that, honestly.
Yeah, it's interesting. The impression that I get is that I'm not sure the exact phrasing. I'm gonna like throw out like a rough draft, and if you can help me refine it, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, just give me the words. I'll build a sentence.
Yeah. So I think that what I get from that is that you almost think of yourself as like incapable. And so if there's something that you can do, then it must be easy because there's nothing that you can do that could possibly be hard or impressive or anything like that.
Yeah, you actually put that quite well for not knowing how to put it. Um, love that. Yeah. Like I grew up and I was always a smart kid. Like that was the only thing that my parents gave me, that I was the smartest kid at home. And so I always strive to do better, but then I slipped into depression at some point, and all of that was gone because I didn't have the motivation to actually listen in school anymore, or study, or do homework. And like because of that, I just felt like I got bad grades, and I felt like it was my fault, because I didn't get any help. I didn't get the help that I should have gotten, that I needed, that I really required to function. And I just felt like it was because I was dumb and I'm stupid. And I think like it might stem from there, that I think that I am not smart, that I'm not able to do stuff. And that's why I just think if I can do it, anyone could do it. Same with my job. I'm a fucking scientist. I work in a lab, you know, and in chemistry. And I'm like, oh, this is not that hard. Like, it all makes sense and it's kind of easy. And other people struggle so much, and I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know why they would struggle, because I can do it. And it's just weird to me that I still then think, like, I know it's like, it doesn't really make sense that I would think that, and I know that it's not true as well, but I can't shake the thought of it being easy because I can do it.
I see. So on a logical level, you can recognize, like, hey, it's clear that I am actually smart. Like, you know, I work in chemistry. I'm a fucking scientist. Like, I am sort of like objectively pretty smart. But
Yeah.
on an emotional level, I still feel like I'm stupid.
Yeah. I feel like I'm stupid, and I feel like I'm pretending, and that people give me credit for stuff that I shouldn't get credit for, even though I did it. It's just really, really weird to think
Yeah.
about.
And I think that you described a really um what's the right word? The only word that's coming to mind is poignant example of that, you know, like when you were growing up, the one thing that you had that people would, that like your parents would give you, that they like wouldn't criticize you for, is that you were smart.
Yeah.
And then you got depressed and anxious, and so then like you started not doing well in school. How did that feel?
It felt awful, because I was used to doing well in school, and it was like the only thing that also gave me joy. And at that point, I felt like I was so useless because I didn't get that praise anymore. That I really craved, not from my teachers, not from my parents, because I was doing bad, and I did not want to talk about why I was doing bad. I didn't really open up about it, because I felt like I wasn't supposed to feel that way, and I wasn't allowed to, because things at home weren't that nice. And I did probably the worst thing that I could have done, and I ran away from home at that point and quit school. And just one of the worst things I probably did. Thinking back, running away from home, probably one of the bravest things I did, because I did that overnight. I literally hopped on a train and left. And but also one of the stupidest things, because I didn't have really anywhere to go, and I fucked my school career for good at that point. I made a comeback. I did that, and I did quite well. I don't have a high school degree. I still went to uni. It was a private uni, because I thought, oh, I don't need like to finish school to do that. To go to uni, I'm smart enough to do it, and I was. And I started working as a lab chemist, because I can kind of do that, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. That's basically what I've been going by when it comes to success. It's like, I'll just try it. Like, what could happen? It's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like you didn't fuck your school career for good. You made that epic comeback.
Yeah. It took a while though. It took a while, because all of my, like, I when I came to Germany, I literally moved to a different country when I left home.
Hmm.
So I lived in Austria and moved to Germany overnight, and they basically didn't give me any credit for the school I did so far. So I literally had to redo my middle school degree. And I was so floored by that. Because first of all, I couldn't go to school straight away. I had to be in Germany for 2 years till I was 18, because my parents wouldn't sign anything, obviously. I wasn't in contact with them.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't work, so I was just basically there doing nothing. I was on a friend's then boyfriend, not friend anymore. Fucking cunt, sorry.
No, I
was living with them and their parents, and they basically got me through a lot, which I'm very thankful for. Like, his family was like so sweet, but he just he was very manipulative and also made me go through like the worst time.
Story
but
for
yeah,
another day, it sounds like.
yeah, I got lucky, let's say like that. Very unlucky. But yeah, that's okay, because everything's gonna be fine in the end, always, which is nice. And just going back to school, I thought that I'd have to work in like a customer service jobs my entire life, because I wouldn't be able to get my schooling done. And that would have sucked, because I hate people, kind of. Like, not actually people, but serving people is not something that I can do without feeling bad about it. And I can't deal with people having a bad day and me being their outlet. That's not something that, especially like already being overwhelmed and then having someone all up in your face, is not optimal for someone with autism.
Totally, yeah. And so I think that I really get the impression, T, of like how painful, how much the experience hurts you, of like losing. I'm gonna phrase this in a particular way. I think I'm making some assumptions, so you let me know if they're wrong, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But sort of losing the identity of being like a smart girl, that losing that was so painful, and so the word that's really coming to mind is shameful, that it was like I can't even face my family. Like I am getting on the next train out of here, and I'm never looking back, because if I lose that, I'm worthless.
You're partially right about that, for sure. There was definitely a lot of other stuff, like me being depressed wasn't the only thing why I left home. Like, my home life with my family wasn't good. I lived in a very abusive home.
Okay.
And back then it just all came together. Like, I wasn't getting praise from my parents anymore because I did well in school. Therefore, the abuse got worse. And it was just definitely shameful for me that I couldn't provide the one thing that I was supposed to, which is being a smart kid and being able to technically provide when I'm grown up, because I'll get a good job. And that was also a lot of pressure put on me, because I didn't know if I wanted to do that. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Turns out I just wanted to be me.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're still working toward that.
Absolutely. I'm not grown up yet.
Totally. So this is sort of a weird question, T. I think it might be a little bit of a read my mind question. But in terms of you sort of losing the identity of the smart girl, and then, after you ran away, what did you do to like repair that, fix that, if anything?
That is such a good question.
I'm not sure if I think it might be a bad question, but
no, it actually is a good question, because for me, a lot of that, like, I now don't identify myself as a smart girl. What I did is I found myself, I guess. I got in touch with my inner child as well, with myself, finding out what else there is about me that is interesting and that I can actually draw joy from.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't want to put just one thing on myself where I'm like, oh, if I'm not that, I can't be anything else. And knowing that I can be smart and I can be funny and I can be a loving person and I can be caring and there for people, and I can work with tools and with my brain as well, and I can do whatever I want to do and I can be good at it without just being the smart girl is really liberating. Knowing that I don't have to pinpoint an exact thing that is good about myself, because I can just do whatever I want and still be happy, because there's so many things about me that are great.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting, T, because in terms of what you just said, what I heard is that I I sort of shed the identity of being a smart girl and said, you know what, like that's not all that I am. I am more than just being smart. You know, I am compassionate, I am fun, I'm funny, I'm, you know, friendly, like I can be all of these different things. Is it okay if I take a little bit of a shot in the dark that is probably wrong?
Absolutely, absolutely, go for it.
It sort of seems like one of the other things that happened, almost as a way to the reason that I asked the question, like what'd you do to like fix that? It almost seems like one of the things that happened is that when you sort of got proven wrong, I don't think that you were actually proven wrong, because I do think that you're actually smart from just like the little bit of conversation that I've had with you and the fact that you're a fucking scientist. Um, but when you got like proven wrong, the impression that I get is that there's some part of you, and like the logical part of you knows that this isn't true, but there's some emotional part of you that said, I'm gonna make sure that I never like make that mistake again. That I'm never gonna think of myself as a smart girl again, because then I'll get punished for it like I did last time. Does that resonate at all with you, or is that psychobabble bullshit?
No, that actually, yeah, it's close to home. um, yeah, I I do have that sense that I could be a failure, and that if I fail, there's nothing left. So I want there to be so much things left other than just that if I fail in one spot, it doesn't really matter, because I still got all of these other things, and it's nice. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're sort of nicely diversified so that if one falls through, you're like you're safe. You have like a safety
Yeah.
net. Makes sense.
That's
Hmm.
also why my jobs are so different.
Oh yeah. So okay. So you work as a scientist,
Yes.
and then what else do you do?
I work as a voice actress.
Okay.
I do art commissions.
Okay.
And I stream as well, and I edit videos. Oh my god, I do so much.
You do. And
Yeah.
how does that fit in with the overstimulation, if at all?
So I occupy myself a lot, and the thing is, like, I can occupy myself with things for hours on end, and I don't get bored of them. My brain just goes into hyperfocus, and the day goes by. And that's something really nice, because if I am so focused on something, I don't get overwhelmed. If as long as nothing changes that's not supposed to change. Um, and I could technically always stop when I wanted to. That's why I love being self-employed.
Mm.
But I'm really sad because I can't do that full time, because it's so unstable and I need a steady flow of income. And because of that, I have to work full time as well on the side.
Mm.
On the side, working full time. That's funny.
Yeah.
Um, to have a stable income and do the things that I also love. And I couldn't decide either if I had to just do one thing, because I do love all of them. And my now place of work, like my trainers, they were actually very scared to train me and to have me in this place of work, because they knew that I did voice acting before I joined into the chemistry field. And they were like, oh, she's not gonna hold up, because like she's a creative, she's not gonna do well in a STEM job. And I proved them wrong, because chemistry is actually quite creative. They just didn't know, you know.
Yeah. And how did it feel to prove them wrong, T?
So good. It felt so good, because we have these talks at the end of every block that we have. And they were like, they literally thanked me for proving them wrong and getting that stereotype out of their head that people can't do both. And like, I do be a bisexual. I think you can do both. You can do all of them. Just do all of it.
Just do all of them.
I'm not gonna make a choice there. I'm just known to not make a choice, I guess.
Yeah. Question that might make you feel a little self-conscious. It is not intended in that way at all, but I just want to preface it with that in case it does. I've noticed that a couple of times in our conversation, the first time that I really noticed it was when I called out the friend, and I was like, wow, sounds like a dick. And the second was like, you know, how did it feel to prove them wrong? That there was like a very like, I don't know how to say it, expressive emotional reaction. And I'm curious, in terms of like the masking that you talked about, that like expressive emotional reaction, is that part of the mask, or is that more is that more sort of like organic, true to you?
That is very true to me.
Okay.
Yeah, that is very true to me. And I do get excited about stuff, and especially like when I'm understood, or when I feel like I relate to someone, I get so excited and so hyped up that people sometimes they don't like it, they don't think it's cute or something, you know. But it do be cute. It do be cute. Yeah. No. Yeah, that is very true to myself, and I am trying to not like put that off. That's something that I've been trying to do a lot lately, like not hold back when I'm actually like feeling joy or I'm excited about something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm doing well with that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. It was really cool to see. That's the impression that I got too. Is I was like, whoa, like there's T. Yeah. So I have some thoughts, but before I say any of them, I'm just curious, T. I guess I'm curious about a couple of things. I'm curious about what takeaways or impressions or things that stood out to you from this conversation, if anything.
First of all, a lot of this is like not new to me, obviously, because I am quite old, even though I don't look it.
What is quite old? Is it okay if I ask?
I'm 26.
Ancient.
Oh my gosh, no, people are always surprised when they find out I'm 26. I don't know why. I feel like I look 26 and I do act 26. And
I've heard
it's just
I've heard that, you know, for women it's very good to look younger than you are.
Yeah, it just pulls a lot of creeps as well.
True.
It does.
True.
But yeah, it's definitely freeing talking about all of this, and like this kind of proved to myself that I can talk about all of this stuff, especially without crying, which is such a win. Let's go.
Hmm.
I cried so much in therapy. Literally, I would walk in and start bawling.
Mm.
And also a takeaway of friends, because I really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, good. I really enjoyed
in
talking
general.
to you too. Genuinely,
Um,
I'm not just returning the compliment. It's really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
Especially when like I get the little peeks behind the mask. Those are actually my favorite parts.
Aw. That's so sweet. Oh my god. Very sweet. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know. This was just a really nice conversation to have. It just felt really nice, and yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think that the preface that I want to give T is that I think that part of what I am going to say may come across as one of my favorite like memes that I've seen on the internet is may you have the confidence of a mediocre white man. And I think that unfortunately I kind of fall into that stereotype a little bit sometimes. I think I kind of have the confidence of a mediocre white man because I kind of am one. Um, uh, that being said, I think that the place that it comes from is out of a it it doesn't feel stupid to me, but out of a stupid sense of like faith in people's ability to heal, get better, find happiness, etc., sort of like escape from suffering. So with that preface in mind, I think that the first thing that I want to say is that I really I think that your work shows, T, in terms of what you have been the growth that you have been able to achieve over the course of your life. I think is incredible, because you, like we talked about, have been playing the game on hard mode your whole life, and like you didn't get to like work up to it. Like you didn't get to like start on easy and then you're like, okay, I can do easy now, let me level up to normal. No, you just like you were born and it was hard mode. And like the fact that you have been able to get as far as you have, I think is fucking amazing. And like something that you should be that you deserve to be genuinely proud about. Um and I think that one of the things that I am really able to see is the how do I say it? Um, the tools that you have learned to use in order to do that, in order to be able to do that. And I think that one of the hardest parts about like finding contentment, you know, like escaping from suffering, is that with that sometimes you have to set down those tools, which is fucking terrifying. So like I think a perfect example that we talked about that you're already sort of like thinking about and moving toward is like this mask has served you so incredibly well. Like it's what allowed you to get through so much of your life. And now it's this idea of like, what the fuck? You want me to take the mask off? That like, you're crazy. That's insane.
Yeah.
And I really want to give credit where credit's due. That like the fact that you're already, you know, sort of that's already sort of like in the back of your mind, I think really sort of speaks to your intelligence.
Stop. My praise kink is acting up.
um so yeah, I think that the the biggest thing, if I could offer one thing for you to take away from this conversation, is that I heard a certain amount of I think that there's a mixture T that I heard today of acceptance and resignation. That there's acceptance of like who I am, that like, I am somebody that has autism. Like that's never gonna change. That's part of who I am. And that is beautiful, and I love that you've accepted that. And I also heard a certain amount of resignation of like, you know, life is just always gonna kind of be shit for me. And while, I'm over here a dumb white man that, you know, doesn't have to go through the struggles that you do, I also do genuinely have a lot of faith and have seen a lot of positive outcomes in terms of people finding, how do I say it? Finding peace or finding joy, finding contentment, whatever, in the path that you're already on of like embracing yourself and doing things your fucking rad neurodivergent way. Because I think that what a lot of people eventually find that I've worked with, and it's really really hard because of all that fucking shame that just like gets piled on top of you. But as you're able to shed that, certain parts of the neurodivergence start to feel like superpowers rather than curses. And I know that there are definitely also aspects of it that are curses that, just make it fucking hard.
Yeah.
So, what honest take, what do you think about that?
I think you're completely fucking right about that. To be fair. Like nowadays I know so many neurodivergent people that just are doing so well, and I'm so proud of them, and I keep telling them, and just being able to see that people that have had their diagnosis like longer than I did get to work on the stuff they do, because I didn't know that I had to work on something, and that there's something that I can work with. Because like getting a BPD diagnosis, like that doesn't help me. Just pump me full with fucking mood stabilizers, I guess. But
Good old drugs.
yeah, that not a fan. Didn't work for me. If it works for others, I'm happy for them. But just knowing that there's something that I can literally do to make myself happier and make life easier for me, and there's some resources that I can pull from. Is just such a glimpse of hope, knowing that it will get easier. The more you work with it, and the more you like get to know yourself, and get to know other people that struggle as well. It's just lovely knowing that you're not alone. You don't have to be alone if you don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of resource, it sounds like you have a pretty decent support network, which I'm super happy about. And please know that I too would love to be a resource. That like that's part of why I do what I do, is that, like I think that people need more resources. I think that there's a severe shortage of resources for people that need this exact kind of help. So yeah, so quick shameless plug, in case I do end up posting this on YouTube or whatever. I offer mental health coaching services. So, that is everything from, like people that struggle accepting who they are to, I am having trouble getting a raise at work and I'd like to navigate that. Like whatever problems you're struggling with, I do my best to help people with the confidence of a mediocre white man. And so I'll leave a link or whatever down in the description. And then T, would you like to tell people about like where they can find you, or sort of like what you do in terms of like your creative stuff, stream, voiceover, that sort of stuff?
Um, you can find me on Twitch. I stream a lot. It's what I've been doing mostly lately. It's just TeeMacher. It's a German name. I know it's gonna be hard to find to type out. It's TeeMacher.
What does it mean, by the way?
It just means tea maker.
Oh, okay,
Because
cool.
I do be making a lot of tea. I do a lot of just chatting. I do some mental health stuff. I do mental health Mondays because talking about mental health is hard sometimes. But you
Especially
shouldn't be ashamed about it.
Monday seems like the perfect day because
It is.
no one has a good day on Monday, you know?
Absolutely. Like Mondays suck anyways, but if your mental health is bad, they suck even more.
Totally.
So
All right.
gotta get that out.
Last question. What's your favorite kind of tea?
Oh, that's such a hard question. Green Thai milk tea, I think.
Ooh.
Very
okay.
good, very good.
Cool. Cool. All right. Well, T, thank you.
What about you? What's your favorite tea?
Ooh. Okay. So I have this thing where I often love the aesthetics of things and have trouble actually getting into them. So another example of this is like chess. I love the aesthetic of chess, but I have a super hard time actually playing it because I'm too much of a dumb boy. Um,
I can teach you. I can teach you.
You can teach me
I sometimes
chess?
do chess dates
Are
on stream.
what's your elo on chess?
I
Not sure.
not sure. Like I've
Okay.
only played in real life most of my life, and
Okay.
I'm just getting into like chess online. But I'm not bad. I'm not bad.
Okay. Cool.
I can make mediocre white men feel very ashamed of themselves.
I love that. I love that. That's my favorite. Yeah, we'll have to play a game sometime. Um so in terms of the tea question, I don't drink tea often, but when I do, it is usually jasmine tea. But it's like
Ooh.
it's just crap. Like I don't think I've ever experienced like good tea. It's just like, you go to Walmart and you pick up like a box of tea bag jasmine tea.
Yeah.
So it's not good. I would love to try good tea at some point.
I mean, you just got to know a good tea just saying.
Hey.
I. Ugh, yeah.
Yeah. So T, thank you so much for doing this with me, and I'm gonna press the stop recording button, and then we'll continue to talk and but pretend like we actually said bye.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.